Hey everyone, there was a really important event that took place at the United Nations today where I want to watch it. It's just a short press conference, and I would like to watch that press conference because I think the information that is shared there is information we should all know. We should all be aware of it. Where every single person watching this channel is also having conversations with people about this war, about Iran, about what's what's at stake and the justifications for this war, and therefore I think it's really important that we see this, and it's just an important story that needs to be told. Ambassador Danon, that's Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, hosted 4 Iranian women at the UN today, including a young Iranian woman who lost her eye after being shot by Iranian regime forces. So this was an event held at the UN to mark International Women's Day. And again, Israel's ambassador to the UN decided to have a press conference highlighting the persecution of women in the Iranian regime. So that's what we're going to watch. And then when we're done, I'll have a few things to say about it. Now, before we get to that, though, I just want to highlight once again the Israel 365 charity special campaign, emergency campaign, Israel Under Fire. The proceeds of this, of what's being raised here, all go to families who are suffering because of the attacks from Iran. Since this war started, there's been a lot of damage to a lot of homes. There's been people who are injured, people who are killed, families that are broken in all kinds of different ways that need help. There's a lot of PTSD issues. There are young mothers whose husbands have been called back to reserve duty and are home with the kids who can't go to school because schools are closed. And there's a lot of needs. And Israel 365, as it's done many times in the past, as we have done many times in the past, has stepped up and is finding the right organizations to work with and the right people to direct funds to at this time. So go to Israel365charity.com. Just spell it out as one word, Israel365charity.com, and click Israel Under Fire. Israel is under fire up here, or you could scroll down to where it has current projects, and you can see some of the other campaigns. But the first one is Israel's at War, is the Israel at War campaign where we're helping these families. So please go do that right now. And or right after, maybe you could pause the video and do it, or right after you're done. But okay, here's the event. And I think that it is a must watch.
Everyone, and thank you for joining us for a very special press conference, a day after International Women's Day, and on the opening day of the Commission on the Status of Women here at the UN. After this stakeout at 11:30 a.m., please tune in to our official side event called Speaking Up on Violations of Women's Rights and Human Rights in Iran. You can find the link to tune in on UN TV. I'd now like to invite Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danon, to deliver a statement. He will be joined by 4 incredible women who will be speaking at our event at 11:30 a.m. We have Rahele Amiri, who is a trained psychologist from Kerman, Iran, who participated in the Women Life Freedom Zan Zandagi Azadi protests in 2022 to 2023 and was shot in the eye by regime forces. Dr. Nazi Moinian is an accomplished Iran-born fellow at the Middle East Institute and is an advisor to INSS in Tel Aviv. Marjan Kipor Greenblatt is an Iranian-American analyst and human rights activist specializing in women and minority rights in Iran. And Shiva Amini is an Iranian women's futsal player who previously played for Iran's national futsal team and fled her home country for Europe following harassment by the Islamic Republic. I'd now like to invite Ambassador Danon and our special guests.
Good morning. Today, the UN opens the Commission on the Status of Women. This year, International Women's Day theme is Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls. That theme could not be more relevant. That is why today we are hosting a CSW side event to amplify the voices of Iranian women, women whose rights have been denied and whose calls for justice have been silenced. But today, there is action. Here at the UN, Israel is amplifying their voices. And on the ground in Iran, alongside the US and others, we are confronting the very regime that oppresses them. With me today stand some of the brave lionesses of Iran, survivors, activists, women who have courageously spoken out against the regime, often at a great personal cost. Shiva Amini, Dr. Nazi Munyan, Marjan Kaifour, and Rahel Amiri, who lost an eye after being shot by regime forces during the Women's Life Freedom protests. For 47 years, the regime in Tehran has ruled through fear and brutality. Women beaten in the streets, arrested for showing their hair, dragged into prison for demanding basic freedoms. A regime that rapes, tortures, and kills women who dare to stand up. But Iranian women do not surrender. They resist. Just last week, the Iranian women's national football team, the Lionesses, refused to sing the regime's anthem before a match in a silent protest against the Iranian regime. They were immediately branded traitors and threatened on state television. That is the regime we are dealing with, a radical Islamist regime that spreads violence across the region and wages violence against its own women. To the women of Iran, I say this: your enemy is our enemy. Stopping this regime is not easy. Israelis are in and out of bomb shelters. Our neighbors in the region are under attack. But allowing this regime to threaten the region and continue its oppression is not an option. So we will continue to target the leadership of the regime and dismantle its nuclear ballistic missile capabilities. As the machinery weakens, you, Mardumei Iran, the people of Iran, will have the opportunity to shape your future with rights and justice for women. In the past 11 days, Iran has fired missiles and drones across the region at Israel, at our neighbors, and at civilian targets. The regime has attacked more Arab countries in the past 11 days than Israel has in its entire existence. This is not defense. This is aggression aimed at destabilizing our region. That is why we welcome the statement you issued by the Gulf Cooperation Council condemning the Iranian regime's attacks on civilian targets and its violation of international law. The Gulf countries also called on the Security Council to clearly condemn these attacks and demand that Iran stop immediately. We agree. The Security Council must act. It must make clear that these attacks are unacceptable and that Iran must stop and surrender. Let me be clear. Changing the man at the top does not change the regime. It is the same ideology, the same nuclear ambitions, the same ballistic missiles, the same terror proxies. For us, nothing changed. My advice to Tehran's new leadership: look at what happened to those who thought they could threaten the US and Israel. Israel remains committed to the objectives of this joint operation: to dismantle the regime's nuclear ballistic missile capabilities and weaken the machinery that allow it to threaten the region and oppress its own people. We hope that soon the people of Iran will have the opportunity to rise up and share their own future. Let us pray that by International Women's Day 2027, Iranian mothers, daughters, grandmothers will stand here themselves speaking for a new reality in Iran, where women finally have what they have been denied for too long: rights and justice. I want to thank the esteemed guests that we have today, and I invite you all to join us at the event we will start momentarily. Thank you.
And if you have any questions, make sure they're directed to the ambassador.
Yes, it's Pamela Falk from U.S. News and World Report. To the ambassador, You thought the Strait of Hormuz might open up a little faster than it has. It's virtually closed. When do you think that might happen? And I know you said not to ask the women, but we'd like to hear from the women what they think of the new appointment of a new supreme leader. Is it more of the same, and what can happen next? Thank you.
So regarding the Strait of Hormuz, as I said a few days ago, we control the airspace in Iran. We are hunting the launchers. We are degrading the capabilities of the regime. So it's going to be harder for them to attack civilians in Dubai and to attack vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. It doesn't mean it will be 100% guaranteed, but it will be harder for them to do that. So I'm optimistic about that. Every day we see the numbers of the attacks going down. Regarding your question, it's up to them, not up to me if they want to address it. But you are welcome to join us, Pamela, at the conference, and we're going to have time for questions and discussions.
Ambassador Adla Massoud, the National. So today, the Lebanese the Lebanese president said he's willing to engage in direct talks with Israel. Is Israel willing to engage in direct talks? Or do you think Israel should finish its military offensive first before?
We are a peaceful nation. We believe in diplomacy, but it takes more than declarations. And I tell the Lebanese leaders, take action against Hezbollah. Hezbollah started to fire rockets into Israel in order to show support for the Iranian regime, to the Ayatollah regime. They wanted to avenge Georgi's death. So that's not acceptable. If the Hezbollah will be restrained, then we are open to dialogue. And we had a very good dialogue with the Lebanese government before.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Abdul Hamid. The first day of the clashes, your Air Force targeted a school in southern Iran, killing 165 young girls. So how can we believe there's shedding crocodile tears about Iranian women when you went and killed these young girls?
So I addressed this question a few days ago. We're looking into these incidents. We do not believe that the Israeli Air Force was involved in that incident. But we have to say it very clearly. We do not target civilians. We target military infrastructure. The Iranian regime, they're doing exactly the opposite. If civilians are being hurt, we regret that when we say that. Same goes for the US. But the Iranians, they do exactly the opposite. They target cities, they target airports, not only in Israel, in 12 countries in the region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. The Israeli Defense Forces said after the selection of Supreme Leader Khamenei's son as the new Supreme Leader that they would target him. Does Israel support President Trump's demand that the United States should have a say in the selection of the next leader or a new leader of Iran?
So there is no daylight between the US and Israel. The new leader, unfortunately, is more of the same. Same ideology, same radical ideas. And if anyone who will promote those radical ideas against us, we will target them, we will find them. I think it's for the people of Iran to choose their next leadership. We will have to create the conditions for them, and that's what we are doing now. But eventually, they will have to stand up, rise up, and choose their own leadership. Thank you very much. And I invite you all to join us at 11:30 at CR9. Thank you very much.
Okay. So now, why did I show that to you? Well, first of all, this issue has to be talked about. The issue of the treatment of women in Iran, the issue of the treatment of women. It's been an issue for a very long time. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's been an issue. It's been an issue for for a very, very long time, and no one's ever done anything about it. And now that we're fighting a war, and the world is, looking at the war and at what point have we degraded their missiles and at what point are we going to decide to stop? And you notice that in Danon's statement, although ostensibly he was talking about this issue of women's rights, he also brought up that a regime change where only the top leadership is removed is not really going to be considered regime change by the Israelis, and it's going to be insufficient. And that's so significant because President Trump, who's been talking about this Venezuela model, where you just remove the top person, like in Venezuela, where he just removed Maduro, and then kept the rest of the government intact and is working with the criminals at the top. And I've been talking about this for a while now. And the Israelis actually having the UN ambassador stand up there, and at the same time as he's talking about the immorality and the brutality of the regime, the unacceptability of their treatment of women, essentially pointing a finger at the world and saying you can't allow this regime to remain. And in the same statement saying we will not accept what I call fake regime change. We're not going to accept, the Israelis are not going to accept a regime change that where you've just removed the top people and left everyone else intact, because then that's more of the same. In other words, the Israeli goal of regime change, and he said it very clearly here, he was very clear in this statement that the Israelis their objective is regime change, and a regime change that isn't real regime change will be unacceptable. So we're now reaching that point very, very quickly that I've been talking about for a while, that US interests and Israeli interests are not identical. And because they're not identical, there can come a point very quickly, and it looks like we're hitting it now, where the Americans say, we're satisfied, we're done, we've achieved our objectives. And the Israelis say, no, 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 not even close, we're still in this war. And then what happens? So that could be happening right around this issue of regime change. But tying it to the women's rights issue is brilliant by Ambassador Danon, by the Israelis, because what it means is that they're making a point that has nothing to do with Israeli security. They're saying there's a moral issue here, and the whole world should find this regime unacceptable. And if you stand up and start advocating for an end to this with the regime still intact, you are complicit in the oppression of women. That's the messaging here. And that's a case that needs to be made. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I touched on this issue and I showed this to you so that you can talk to people about this, because this doesn't get talked about enough, because we're all wrapped up in the ballistic missiles and the nuclear and the security issues and and the geopolitics of it all. And we have to keep our focus that there is evil here, and we need, it is our obligation, it is our moral obligation as people who are good to defeat and destroy evil, to bring it to its knees. And I elaborated on this in the video that I just released earlier, which was, I did that hit on Fox News last night, and I talked about this. I talked about the issue of the importance of victory, the importance of defeating evil, and that we need to keep that in focus at this time. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for watching, and please keep helping grow the channel. I'm really appreciative of all the viewers and all the subscribers and everyone who's been sharing. The channel's grown, quicker than I could ever have imagined. It really shows that there's a lot of, that gives me a lot of encouragement to keep doing what I'm doing. So thank you very much for watching. Keep sharing, keep liking, keep telling everyone what we're up to on this channel. Thank you. God bless.